Fireman Sam and the Lightning Strike. Pontypandy Fire Station was having a fancy dress ball to raise funds. Sarah and James couldn't wait. Sarah was putting the finishing touches to her face paint. "Let's hurry," said James as he holstered his guns. "I want to be the first to arrive." "Yes, last year we arrived late, and Trevor Evans had eaten all the chocolate cake," chuckled Sarah. "And the trifle," added James. As the twins walked into Pontypandy, Fireman Sam pulled up alongside them in Jupiter. He offered them a lift to the party. "No thanks, Uncle Sam," replied Sarah. "We promised to call for Trevor." "Don't be too long," said Sam. "It'll be dark soon, and it looks as if a thunderstorm is on its way." "That looks great," said Fireman Sam when he arrived at the fire station. "I'd better get changed," said Elvis. "People will start turning up for the party soon." "Thank goodness you're here, Sam," panted Station Officer Steele. "You can finish blowing up these balloons." "You do look a little puffed, sir," laughed Fireman Sam. "I'm off to change too," said Station Officer Steele. "As soon as you've finished the decorations, you'd better do the same." A little later, Fireman Sam and Station Officer Steele were admiring each other's costumes. Station Officer Steele was dressed as Napoleon. "Very military, sir," said Sam. "Your superhero outfit cuts quite a dash, Sam," replied Station Officer Steele. Just then Elvis appeared. "Count Dracula Cridlington at your service," chuckled Elvis. "I've just dropped in for a bite." "We'd better get the food put out," said Station Officer Steele. "And no nibbling." Sam put down the sausage roll he was about to pop into his mouth. Just then a streak of lightning cracked through the night. "Oh no!" cried Elvis, nearly dropping the jelly. "I hate lightning." "I'm not too fond of it either," replied Sam. "Lightning usually means call-outs." Over in Newtown, firefighter Penny Morris had been preparing for the party. She pulled on a special suit. "I'll go to the party as Pontypandy's first ever astronaut," she chuckled. Dressed and ready, she climbed into Venus, her fire tender, and drove off. Penny was about halfway to Pontypandy when the lightning began. "Come on, Venus, we'd better get a move on before this storm gets any worse," she said. Just then the sky lit up as a streak of lightning cracked overhead, striking a nearby tree. "Oh my goodness!" cried Penny as the tree came crashing towards her. Penny tried to swerve Venus out of the way, but it was too late. Penny dived for cover as the tree landed on the tender with a crash. "Phew, lucky you've got a strong roof," said Penny as she peered out of the window. "I'd better check the damage," she said as she tried to open the door. "That's torn it," she cried. "The tree's jammed up against the door and the passenger door is blocked too." Penny pushed as hard as she could. "It's no use," she muttered. "It's jammed tight. I'd better phone Pontypandy Fire Station and see if they can help me." "Venus 1 to Pontypandy Fire Station. Are you receiving me? Over." At the station, the crew were just putting the last of the food on the table when the call came through. "I hope it's nothing important," said Fireman Sam as he made for Station Officer Steele's office. "The party's just about to start." Penny explained to Fireman Sam what had happened. "Don't worry, Venus 1, replied Fireman Sam. "We'll be there immediately." "It's a call-out," cried Fireman Sam. "Penny's in trouble." "What about our costumes?" asked Elvis as they dashed towards Jupiter. "No time for that," barked Station Officer Steele as he pushed Elvis aboard and they sped off. Sarah and James were in the high street when Jupiter and her crew sped past them, sirens blaring. "I hope the party isn't cancelled," said James. "Perhaps they've forgotten the lemonade," said Sarah hopefully as they knocked at Trevor's door. "Well, don't you look a treat, you two," chuckled Trevor. "You look great as well, Trevor," cried Sarah. "Not so much of the Trevor," he joked. "I'm Eric the Viking, if you please." Trevor put on his horned helmet and they set off. The lightning was still flashing as Trevor and the twins made their way to the party. "I hate lightning," said James. "It's spooky." "Don't worry," laughed Trevor, waving his sword. "You'll be safe with me." Meanwhile, Norman Price was sneaking around dressed as a monster. "My outfit looks really frightening," he chuckled mischievously. "I can't wait to scare somebody." By now, Fireman Sam and the crew had reached Penny. "No problem, Penny. We'll have you out in no time," said Fireman Sam. "You're going to be rescued by Napoleon, Count Dracula, and a superhero." "Get the tow rope, Cridlington," said Station Officer Steele. Fireman Sam tied one end of the rope to the fallen tree while Elvis tied the other end to Jupiter. "Tow rope fastened, sir," said Elvis. "Pull it clear, Sam," directed Station Officer Steele. Sam started up Jupiter and slowly inched backwards. "Come on, Jupiter, you can do it," muttered Fireman Sam. Jupiter's engines roared louder and louder. Slowly the tree was towed off Venus until it crashed to the ground. "Back a bit, Sam," commanded Station Officer Steele, "and a bit more." The tree was slowly dragged away from the road. "That should do it," yelled Station Officer Steele. Fireman Sam climbed down. "It can't do any harm there, sir," he said, mopping his brow. "Well done, men," said Station Officer Steele. "Let's pack up and get back to the party." "Are you all right, Penny?" asked Fireman Sam. "I'm fine," said Penny. "Venus is rather dented, though." "It's nothing serious," said Fireman Sam. "Start her up and we'll see if the engine's been damaged." Venus burst into life. "Seems okay," said Penny. "You'd better follow me into Pontypandy just in case." "By the way, Penny," said Fireman Sam, "with that outfit, shouldn't you be driving a rocket?" Penny chuckled as she drove off. Fireman Sam and the crew followed Penny into town. "The storm isn't getting any better," said Fireman Sam. "I hope we don't have any more call-outs tonight." Just as they pulled into the fire station, all the lights went out. "Great fires of London," said Fireman Sam. "A power cut." "The lightning must have struck a power cable," said Station Officer Steele. "We can't have a party in the dark," said Elvis. "Not to worry," said Station Officer Steele. "We'll use the emergency generator." "I'll just watch my favourite programme before I change for the party," said Dilys Price. "It's the last episode tonight." Dilys was on the edge of her seat with excitement. "Go on, marry the girl. Go on." Just then the lights in Dilys's television went off. "Oh no," she wailed. "What a time for a power cut." Bella was in her cafe putting the final layer of cream on a large chocolate cake for the party. Rosa looked hungrily at the cream on the table. Now, Rosa," said Bella. "The cake, it's for the party. You can have some cream later." At that moment the lights went out. "Mamma mia!" cried Bella. "It's too dark to finish the cake." At the same time, Trevor and the twins were just entering Pontypandy Park. "Let's go through here," said Trevor. "It's quicker." No sooner had they entered the park when all the lights went out, plunging them into darkness. "Oh no!" they groaned. "I can't see a thing!" cried James. "Nor me," groaned Sarah. "Don't worry," said Trevor. "We Vikings are great navigators." "Let me see," said Trevor. "If we go north here, then south here, we should be—" "Back where we started," said Sarah as Trevor bumped into her. "It's no use," said Sarah. "We'll never find the gate in this darkness." Lightning flashed across the sky as they groped around. "It's a bit frightening," said James. "Cowardy, cowardy custard," said Sarah. "There's nothing to be afraid of," said Trevor reassuringly. Just then there was a rustling noise in the undergrowth. "What's that?" whispered James. "It's just your imagination," said Trevor. The bush rustled again. This time they all heard it. "I'm scared," said James. "Nonsense," replied Trevor. "It's probably just a squirrel." Confidently, Trevor stepped forward to investigate. He leaned over to look behind the bush when suddenly a light illuminated the head of a horrible monster. "Ah!" cried Trevor. "Run for it!" "Don't worry, Trevor," said Sarah calmly. It's not a monster. It's just a little horror called Norman Price. Norman shone the flashlight on his face as he took the monster mask off. You naughty, said Trevor crossly. Wait a minute, interrupted James. Norman can lead us out of here with his torch. Of course, said Trevor. Lead on, Norman. Norman led them through the park, rather relieved that for once he'd got away with his joke. Well done, Norman, said Trevor when they saw the gates. We'll follow you all the way to the fire station. But just then the lights went back on all over town. Trevor and the children were delighted. Last one to the party's a sissy, laughed Sarah. Dilys, meanwhile, wasn't quite so happy. The television had come back on just in time for her to see the words "The End" on screen. Now I'll never know what happened, she groaned. Bella had been rummaging around the cafe looking for candles. I need a candle to find the candles, she moaned, but then the lights came back on. Bellissima, she cried. Now I can finish my cake and we can go to the party, Rosa. Bella looked around. On the table the pot of cream had been knocked over. Rosa, you naughty, naughty cat, shouted Bella. Eventually everybody found their way to the fire station. Bella's cake took pride of place among the food. I've got some milk for Rosa, said Station Officer Steele. I think Rosa's had quite enough food for one day, chuckled Bella. Watch out, Dilys, said James. You've got a snake on your head. Snake? That's an asp, sniffed Dilys. I'm Cleopatra. Very fetching, too, said Trevor, who'd found that the horns of his helmet were very useful for carrying pork pies. Elvis raised his glass to Norman. You look really horrible, Norman, he said. Thanks, Elvis. So do you, replied Norman. You'd better go home a different way tonight, Penny, laughed Fireman Sam. Just in case lightning strikes twice.